Hey everybody, while I have a few minutes, I thought I would do a video here. I had zero intention of making a video today, but I visited a place last night, and over time this has become pretty easy for me to do. And I have been asked lately about my inspirations for making videos, and I'm just offended, basically, at the history that we have been presented and taught in school. And there is just a lot of stuff that is incomplete and a lot of stuff that people really don't know about, and some sites deserve to be talked about. And I have not talked about Poverty Point, Louisiana for a couple years. I did make a video about a year ago where I just showed you around the pyramid, but some new imagery is available now on Google Earth. So we are going to go visit Poverty Point, Louisiana. And I know when people plan their trips, places like this is really not on the list, but with Google Earth now, we can go take a visit ourselves. So that's what we're going to do. And here you see a massive pyramid, and this is over 200 meters long and wide, and the number of man hours to build this is pretty mind-boggling, considering the theory is that pretty much baskets full of sod, dirt, were hauled in here to make up most of this pyramid, but it was constructed very well, and it's kind of complex. There are layers of different materials at different points in the pyramid, so there was some thought put into this, and obviously a large population would have been here to required to build it. That is just obvious, but let's go take a look on the top of the pyramid here. And 5,000 years ago, this would have been a sprawling city. And now, over time, tree growth, floods, which I'm going to talk about in just a second, and sedimentation, which allows trees and grasses to grow over this pyramid. And who knows what it looked like in its original form. And the dating of it is all speculation, but I tend to agree that this comes from maybe around 2,000 or 3,000 BC. And I never knew about this growing up. And I think that's a crime that places like this aren't taught in school, because it's so important. This makes the United States no different than Egypt or Peru or Mexico or other places where there are massive pyramids in ancient cities and sun temples, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. But here you just get an idea of the scale. And there is a little sign here I just noticed. Let's see if I can read this. It says, "You are standing on the top of Mound A, 165 feet above sea level, which is about 72 feet above surrounding original land surface. At its base, the mound measures about 710 feet in length, east to west, and 660 feet in width. Mound A has an unusual shape, suggested by some to represent a bird in flight. The north-south extensions would be the wings, and the eastwards extending platform would be the tail. We don't know that this was the builder's intent, but birds are commonly represented in Poverty Point artifacts. And a lot of ancient cultures, the bird was the connection between the earthly realm and the heavenly realm, or the earthly plane and the heavenly realm. So it representing a bird, it very well could be. And it says Mound A is not a burial mound. There is no evidence that it served as a platform for buildings like temples or houses. Some archaeologists have suggested that Mound A may have served to bring together and reinforce social relationships within the Poverty Point community, or to demonstrate the power or wealth of, and then I can't read the rest of that, but that is what it says on the sign here. And once again, this would have been an ancient city with thousands and thousands of people surrounding this area. And here you see those extensions going from north to south here. And it goes off this way, but this is a massive pyramid. Who knows what it looked like in its original form. And one thing that they should put on that sign, we are at March 10th today, and here you are on the top of the pyramid. And this is the general area of the center of what would be that circle I'm going to show you. And here is the rising sun. And in 11 days, that sun is going to peak up right about here in alignment with the pyramid in the center of what was, I believe, an ancient sun temple. But the rising sun on the spring equinox being marked in ancient sites, we have that at Angkor Wat, Borobudur, Giza, and other sites around the world. But in 11 days, that will be in alignment with the middle of that sun temple. And let me show you that sun temple right now. But the spring equinox alignment with this site, just as there is at Cahokia, I don't think that can be ignored, and I don't think it should be ignored. Just going over here, and people have said this is a terraced arc that is out here. And here you see the remains of this terracing system, and they pretty much say it's an ancient arced terrace. But when I looked around, at one certain elevation here, the arc disappears, and there is a river here. So over 4,000 or 5,000 years, obviously there was some bad floods, and just because at one particular elevation this arc terrace disappears, it's obvious to me that flooding and maybe this river changed over the course of 4,000 or 5,000 years. That's what rivers do. But it took out this part of the arc of the Sun Temple. And do we have any other things that are circular and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terraces? Well, let me go over to a video I did a couple years ago. This is the ringed ruins of Moray, Peru. And here you see a circular temple with 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever this was, for agriculture, temple, sun worship, whatever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels. And this is about the same size as that complete circle would have been at Poverty Point. So is that a coincidence? Does that have any connection? Well, this is found on the other side of the world, but I can't ignore the similarity. I just wanted to show you that. But here, back at Poverty Point, I think this river took out an ancient circular sun temple, or whatever it was. I believe it was circular at one time. And this is just the remains of what was a grand city, maybe the biggest, or one of the biggest in the ancient United States, coming from about the same time as the earliest dynasties of Egypt. Makes the United States no different than Egypt, Peru, Mexico, wherever we have giant pyramids and ancient cities. But that is just a little look around Poverty Point. If some of you have not heard of this, I'm glad you have now. Hope you thought that was interesting. Y'all have a very nice day.